In this video, we're going to be installing an RGB smart recessed light kit from Lumary. So if you've been watching a series on turning our playroom into a game room, we are up to the point now where we're ready to go ahead and get our recessed lights in. Now the plan is to put them in roughly about the corner, all four corners. I'm undecided as of yet if the fan's going to come out or not, because I'll tell you the truth, while I've been up here working, I've been getting a little bit hot, so I'm not so sure if we want to pull the fan out yet or not. Plus that will leave a marginally sized hole in the middle of the room that's not quite ideal. So it may stay, it may not, but either way, the recessed lights, we can put them in a place where it won't really affect the fan at all. All right, so let's go ahead and see what's inside the box. First off, we have our lights, and these do look fairly similar, at least for the attachment, as the ones that we did for the TV downstairs. So if you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. Obviously, with the addition of a ring around the outside, this part here is actually just a white light versus RGB. Have another hole cut out template. Once again, we will be using our hole saw to make life a little bit easier, but it is really cool that they do include that in the event that you have something else to cut with. So we got the four lights. Let's go ahead and move on to the other box. So in here we do have our nice little electrical boxes here to keep everything tucked away. Now up above us is an attic. I will actually be doing most of the wiring up there because it's going to be a lot easier than trying to run wires blindly. I'm going to be pulling the power from the main light bulb, and that way I can still use the switch to turn on the recessed lights off and on. More than likely pull the main bulb out, and that way it doesn't turn that on, but it will turn on these. And being that this room does have a switch for the fan and the lights separately, that'll be really nice because I can control both independently. More than just being an electrical box, this is also an inverter to send the appropriate voltage to the light panels. I believe this is a 36. Yeah, it is a 36 volt. So these are actually 36 volts, but you can hook up to the electrical in your house perfectly fine. There are four boxes, so one for each of the lights. And on the inside of the boxes are wire nuts so that you can attach power. Well, I'm trying to think home voltage here, a little different, DC versus AC. So AC voltage, you're talking your neutral, your ground, and then the ground wire, I think is what they're called. I am very much more a 12 volt guy, so I know which one goes to what. Not so great with the terminology, but there you go. So we do have those. I do have some wire that's left over from some of the projects. I'm hoping this will be enough. If not, I do have some more of the yellow stuff, which is which you use for like a 20 amp breaker, so it's massive overkill. But I own it and I don't have to buy more wire, and this stuff is not cheap. If I have to, I will use that, but I'm going to try to use this. But you will need some kind of a wire if you're running like me. Now, if you're replacing what already exists, then you won't have to worry about that because all your wiring is going to be right there. In our case, we are adding recessed lights to a room that does not currently have them, so it's a little bit of a different animal. That's where once again, we're gonna have to drill our holes. If you already have recessed lights and you're replacing with the RGB system, awesome. All you gotta do is pull your lights out, put the wiring in, put the Lumary light panel up, and you're good to go. So it'll just save you a lot of work if you already have the lights drilled. But if not, it's really not that bad, especially if you got an attic above you. It makes it really easy. If you don't have an easy access above you, then it will get a little more involved. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube that show you how to run wiring in that way. I've done it before. It is not fun, but it's also not the end of the world. It can be done. A drill, because we will need the drill for the 6-inch holes. Now, in my case, because I am drilling new holes, I will need to know where the studs are for the rafters, I guess. So I do have a stud finder, and that will help me to make sure that when I figure out my dimensions and where I want to put everything, and I'm not putting them somewhere where I'm going to have to deal with studs. So that means I will have to figure out a centralized location, how far from each wall I want to put it, and then make sure that all four corners are clear of some kind of a cross beam or something. Make sure that we don't have that issue, because that will be a very difficult situation if you run into that. So avoid that. As well as the tape measure and a pencil so that I can measure and mark. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and figure out placement of where I'm going to put all 4 of them. Then we'll drill the holes, and then I'll climb up in the attic and we'll start doing the wiring. Go ahead and get that going. All right, so now that I got all of the wiring ran to the main light here, I'm just going ahead and plugging these in now. It's just a very simple little barrel plug here. Screws right into it, and then these little pop tabs hold it right in place. You just center it up. To make sure it's fully covering the hole when it's installed. So now that we have the lights installed and turned on, as you can see, they're going to start flashing, and this just means that they are in pairing mode. If all 4 are not flashing like this, you can reset the lights by turning the power on, off, and then back on again in quick succession, and that should force all 4 into pairing mode. Once they are all 4 in pairing mode, you hit the plus sign up in the top corner on the home screen, and we'll hit add device. And it's going to find all 4 devices, and it should find them pretty quickly. Then we go ahead and hit add. So then you're going to, on this screen, make sure that you're typed into a 2.4 gigahertz connection and type in your password for your Wi-Fi. 5 gigahertz connections will not work with the Lumary lights. You hit next, and it will start to pair. Now, one thing to consider here is all 4 may show up on the phone, but once you start to pair, you may have difficulties pairing. In the event that you do, it is more than likely related to Wi-Fi signal. You have to keep in mind that in the room itself, you may have a really strong signal, but that does not mean that the control modules that are above the ceiling have that same signal strength. And in that case, you may need to use a Wi-Fi extender or something like that to try to get a better connection. But as long as you have a good connection to all 4 lights, they should all 4 pair. In the event that you have 1 or 2 that do not pair, you can attempt to pair a few more times. I had 1 or 2 that didn't want to pair when I first went through this, and that way I was able to get them to pair. I ended up adding a repeater upstairs closer to the panels themselves, and now it seems to be adding all 4 without problem. So if you do have issues here with the pairing process, it is more than likely your Wi-Fi strength at the control boxes. So as you can see, I did get 3 to pair successfully, and I did have 1 that says it failed. Once again, if you do run into this, just hit done, hit add, and try to add that last device. And we'll go right back into the pairing process, and usually the 2nd or 3rd time it pairs up, and then it seems to work perfectly fine after that. Just seems to be the initial pairing process that it struggles. There it is, it happened real fast. That initial process seems to be the hard part. Once you get past that, it's not too bad, and once again, the Wi-Fi range and signal seem to play a pretty big role in whether or not it pairs up fast. You hit done, and we're going to come right back, and it's going to jump into the main screen here for the one that we just added. Now, as you can see, we do have some pretty basic controls here. You have your main light and your auxiliary light. Now, the auxiliary light is the ring around the outside of the light. The main light is the white light itself. Now, for the white light, you do have several different tones that you can do. So as you can see, I am in control of the light in the far corner there, and I can change the color of white to be whatever I want, as well as the brightness up and down. Pretty good range of control here. You're not stuck in a 6K or a natural white versus a cool white or warm white or any of that. You can change it up a little bit and get that right hue of whatever color you're going for. You can also kind of create your own modes here. Custom scene lets you do like a flashing strobe color of sorts. So like in that case, it's gonna strobe between the two, or flash between the two. You do breathe, where it'll kind of like slowly rotate between them. I kind of like to just stick with static. I'm not gonna worry about saving that. I don't need to save another scene, but yeah, leisure, reading, working, as well as just manually selecting on this wheel here. Now back on the main screen, as I said, you can select your auxiliary light, which is the ring around the outside. Now you cannot run both of these at the same time. You have to run one or the other. There are quite a few different modes that you can choose for this. There are 6 scenes up at the top here that you can choose from right off the bat. I kind of like the streamer by default. I think it'll work well for the layout of this room. But in the event that you wanted something different, you know, you get your night light, which turns on the main brightness there of your main bulb. Daily, which is the brighter light there. Party mode, a little bit of a flashing light. So quite a few different modes. I'm going to go back to streamer, and beyond that, what you can do, you can also push the auxiliary light function here, and this will give you an option for many different modes that you can try using, which will change how it flows. And in my case, I kind of like that neon world that was on by default. I think that will be my go-to for this room. But you also have the music mode. If you want, you can use any of these and it will sync to any audio from your phone. So you know, you will need to use your phone to make this function work, but it is there, and it is a pretty nice function to have. As well as a full custom mode where you can choose different colors for different sections and change them individually on the ring itself around the light. After that, you do have in the top corner here where you can go into settings, and this is where we can create our groups. That way we can control all lights at once. You hit create group and all 4 will show up there. You just select all 4 and hit save, and we can change this name, and I'm going to change this to Game Room Recessed Lights Group. So now it pulls right up, and when I hit auxiliary light, all of them light up. Now I'll change it to streamer, and they're all on streamer now. So once again, I can change all that out. I can come right back in here, go to main light, they all go to main light, change that to reading, leisure, whatever color tone I'm looking for, switch back to streamer, just like that. So really easy to control, really easy to change with the app itself. Beyond that, in my case, I do want to be able to control this with voice. So I'm going to go back to the scene mode here, and I'm going to add a scene. And for the scene, I'm going to do a tap to run, and I'm going to do a control single device, and that is where I can actually choose our lights group there. And I'm going to choose to master control on and choose scene. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you choose here, white, color, scene, music doesn't really work right, but ultimately it just seems like it will resume whatever the last mode was that it was using. So in the case right now, I'm using RGB, so it will resume that in the event that this scene is activated. So it'll work okay for what I'm doing. Just hit save, and I'm going to call this the GR Recessed Lights On. And then I'm going to create another scene that will turn them off. And that one I will call GR Recessed Lights Off. So now I have these 2 modes here. So what I can do is I can go back into the Alexa app here, and you can see it's just add 2 new scenes. So what I do is I go over to my routines, and now these are my game room voice activated routines here. And so I can go into here, and then I can just select to add an action smart home scene. And you're going to see those GR Recessed Light On and Off is in there. So I'm going to do the on for this one. And as you can see, it's added down to the bottom, and I can hit finish. And then I'm going to go back to the routines again, and I'm going to do the shutdown sequence. And I'm going to add in the scene of off. And effectively what it's just gonna do is that it's gonna allow me to be, by voice activation, to turn them on and off. So in this case, Alexa, game room shutdown.
Okay.
And that will be my voice activation to shut down the room. Alexa, game room activate.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go. And so as you can see, I have quite a few different lights in here right now, all synced up to that code. And that's gonna become my go-to for most of this stuff. Now, once again, and I will show you that here, if I were to go over here and actually I can just hit this power button, it'll actually turn them on to white. I don't actually have to go the whole way in. But if I go, Alexa, game room shutdown.
Okay.
So it turns everything off. Now I do, Alexa, game room activate.
Okay.
And as you can see, the difference is it resumes whatever that last mode was for the lights. So that's really my only complaint with the system. I wish I had more control like I do with a lot of Lumary stuff, where I can actually tell it to do a certain color, I can tell it to do a certain scene, I can link those scenes. This is a software issue. I would imagine it's something that can be fixed. I am going to reach out to Lumary about it and see if that's something they can resolve, because honestly, it's really the only major complaint I have, aside from Wi-Fi range, but that's really just more to be expected in any case. I mean, Wi-Fi has a limit to how far it can go, and the boxes are in the ceiling, so they're obviously going to be limited in their range compared to something that's in the room. And it's an easy enough thing to work around if you add a Wi-Fi extender or something like that, which is probably a good idea if you're on the edge of your network anyways. But other than that, I really do like the lights. I really do like the way that they work. I do like how easy it is to change things around, and I do like how it does really bring the room together even more. Obviously, we still have a few more things going on in this room build. The Herdio speakers and the Colo Play lights for the wall, possibly a few other things. We'll see how that goes. Definitely, if you have enjoyed this series, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the future episodes. And definitely check out Lumary. They have quite a few nice products, this one included. I do like the product. I don't think I've seen much else quite like it. I think there's probably some stuff similar, but it is quite a nice light system, and install really wasn't bad. So I would definitely recommend trying it out. Just keeping in mind those couple small little caveats, which once again can easily be fixed with the software update. I assume can easily be fixed with a software update, but I guess we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys, and make sure to subscribe and like.